Hey everyone, welcome back to Coffee and Tea with Justin and Tashina. I'm Tashina. I'm here with Justin.
Hello.
I don't know why that was so funny to me, but that was.
Yeah, no, I don't know either.
So, in today's episode, we talked about celebrating the small wins and being gentle with yourself.
So true.
We talked about some books.
Yep.
We talked about kombucha.
We went off about kombucha.
Yeah, there's a long part about kombucha.
I would say this episode is primarily our feelings on small wins and being gentle with ourselves, and then mostly kombucha.
Yeah. And in the episode, we had decided that we should start reading more and maybe we should do like a book club type thing. So we're both going to read the same book and then have an episode where we like share our thoughts.
Yep.
And we wanted to share the book in the beginning so that way if you want to join us, you can.
Yep.
So this week I picked the book and I picked You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. I think that this is a really good intro book. I've read it a few times. If you are new to like the
Wait. Did you say you've read it a few times?
Yeah.
Oh.
But every time I read, it's been a few years since I've read it, and every time I read it, I get something different out of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought we were picking a book neither of us had read.
Oh.
I mean, it's fine with me. I didn't realize you'd read it already.
Yeah, I read it already.
Okay. I've not read it.
I think it's a really good intro book if you are new to like self-help type books, because I feel like she comes from a very everyday person approach. It's not too hippie-ish. It's not too like religious sounding. It's very just like kind of, I think she comes from like a tough love kind of perspective in a way, but like a gentle tough love perspective. And I think there's a lot of helpful reminders in the book and helpful practices.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'm excited to read it.
Yeah.
So how are we going to do this? It says there's 27 chapters, so we just going to read the first chapter.
Yeah.
And then it looks like the chapters are pretty short.
Yeah, they're pretty short.
So maybe we should read like the first 4 chapters.
And then talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'm going to take notes.
I guess we'll have our first episode talking about it next Friday.
Sure.
Or I guess this episode's going live on Saturday, so next Saturday.
Yeah.
Should we just call it Sunday?
Sure.
Sunday seems like a good day to talk about
next
books.
weekend. Yeah. So if you want to pick it up and read along and chime in, or pick it up and, since shipping stuff is delayed.
I'm sure there's a e-version of it.
Yeah, I'm sure there is too. Yeah. And I also want to add too that if you're just looking for other books to read, Powell's Books out of Portland is shipping through their online web store. They're a great place to shop for books. I love Powell's, and they're independently owned. And a lot of small independently owned bookstores, I think, I'm not seeing them sell online, but Powell's is. So if you don't want to support one of the major ones,
You can just say Amazon.
yeah, if you don't want to support Amazon, you see if Powell's has it. They have tons of other books too. I love Powell's. So yeah, if you're just looking for a book in general, go there.
Are you friends with them? Would you
No.
say you're pals?
No, I just grew up going there, and it's such a cool bookstore.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Okay, awesome. So yeah, grab the book if you want to join us. We realize this is very short notice. It's because
Very
we
short.
just decided that's what we're doing.
yeah.
And enjoy this episode.
We're getting back into doing this earlier, which is nice.
It's 10 a.m., dude.
Yeah, but this is better than yesterday and the day, for the past couple of days. It's better. We're working our way back to it.
Not back to 5:30 though.
No, not back to 5:30, but we're working our way to it being earlier,
Maybe
which is good.
6:30 or 7.
Yeah,
Let's say.
sure. But I think it's good. It's good progress moving in that direction. I think next week we should be in that spot. I think it's important to celebrate like the small wins right now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What are some other small wins you'd like to celebrate?
The stovetop is clean. We did that yesterday, which I appreciate. This morning I swept around the litter boxes, trying to like do that a couple times a day because the cats are messy.
Yeah, they are.
I think it's just, I think it's important to celebrate the small, somewhat maybe seeming insignificant wins. But I think it's really important right now to focus on those things and focus on like what you are able to get done and what you are able to do.
Yeah.
So, I think the stovetop is a good one. I have not repotted all the plants I said I would, but I'm going to repot one of them today. I just think it's like we can't get caught up in beating ourselves up right now. I think it's too easy to do that.
Sure, yeah.
And so I think it's good to be like, I said I would do this.
Your transition to this was, we should celebrate the small wins. Here's a list of things I haven't done.
It's not a smooth transition. But just, I don't know, like almost all of our dishes are clean. Things like that.
Thanks for keeping our dishes clean.
You're welcome. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I think for me, there are a bunch of little things, but there are also things that I said I would get done that I've not gotten done, that I'm just being like more gentle with myself about.
Okay, like what?
Well, like not repotting all those plants I said I would repot. Like I've made zero progress in that. Wait, I did. I potted one. I made tiny progress.
Like a small win to me.
Yeah, exactly. It's a small win. So I think that a lot of us, myself included, and I think you as well, but I don't want to speak for you. So perhaps
Go
you
ahead.
as well.
Let's see what happens.
When this whole thing happened, a lot of us were like, this is our time to be super productive and get all this stuff done. And what I am feeling myself and what I'm seeing on social media is some people are able to do that, and that's great, but not everyone's able to. And a lot of people I'm seeing are feeling very discouraged about not doing the stuff on their list that they said they wanted to do. And I think that right now, like I was reflecting on that because I've gotten a lot done in some areas and I've not gotten a lot done that I wanted to. Like the like framed stuff I wanted to hang in the office. None of that's hung up.
Right.
My plants are not repotted. The deep cleaning organization of stuff I wanted to do has not even started. Like, I'm still loads behind on laundry, like just so many little things. And I think right now it's important to just be more gentle with ourselves about it. Cause I think a lot of people are in that boat. And I think with what's going on, times are like uncertain, and it's okay to have more mental health time off if you need it. And if for you that means you're not getting some of this stuff done or you're not as productive, that's okay. Do you have anything like that?
Well, first I would say I do think that if you had all these big hopes and dreams and things that you said you were going to do, I think it's or things that you've been telling yourself, if I just had the time, then I would do all these things. I do think it's worth looking at those things and thinking why you haven't gotten them done. Although, I also think that when we tell ourselves that we're not thinking, I'm going to be sitting at home with quote-unquote free time, but this is the situation.
Yeah.
It's like, I think when we think about all the things that we would do if things were different, I don't think this is the different that we envision.
Yeah. Like, sorry, go ahead.
Well, so I think it's just important. Yes, it is important to be gentle with yourself. And it's important to think about, well, now that I do have a little bit more time, why am I not doing these things? And I don't think that necessarily means, that it just wasn't actually important to you.
Yeah.
Maybe that's true, which is why I think it's important to look. But maybe it's just that, you know what? Yeah, I have more time because I'm not commuting, because I'm working from home. But I'm way more stressed out.
Yeah.
Or I have more time, but I have less resources. Or I have more time, but I've been laid off or furloughed. So I don't have the money to start these things, or I think it's worth looking at, but I totally agree that in that look we have to be realistic and say, okay, I'm not doing all these things that I said I was going to do, but it's not just because I'm lazy. It's not just because, I mean, I don't know, maybe it is. Maybe some of it is, right? Maybe some of it is. But I think, I just think we should look at it with compassion.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good point. Because, it's like what I was saying to you earlier. When this first started, there was that meme going around being like, now's the time to do all those things you said you were going to do. Start your side hustle, blah, blah, blah. And then yesterday I was seeing an updated version of that going around. Well, 2 updated versions. One was like, it's okay if you didn't do these things. And the other was, if you haven't done these by now, what the heck have you been doing with your time, you lazy POS? And I was just like, whoa, if you're... it's okay if you haven't.
Yeah, it's heavy times.
And to Justin's, to your point, what you were saying, it's like you could be financially impacted. There are areas where it's tougher to have, I don't know, maybe one of your projects involves things outside of the house that are not safe right now or that are not essential.
Yeah.
And so it's not the time to be running to Home Depot to buy wire for your gardening project.
Yeah. And depending on the side project or side hustle, I don't know that it is a good time to try to start one.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're doing, could be a terrible time because all your customers don't have money either.
Yeah. And so I think it's a good time to to your point, reflect on it and think am I not doing this for reasons that are out of my hands, but it's something I would do? Or am I not doing this for reasons that, oh, there goes applesauce into that box. Am I not doing this for reasons that I can control, but maybe right now is not the time?
Yeah.
Or am I not doing it because it's something I genuinely don't actually want to do, and finally addressing that with yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too...
You have some fuzz on you, sorry.
Oh, yeah. I think I have a lot of fuzz on me. Thank you. I think too, just being, super gentle, going back to me with one of my things being I wanted to repot all of my plants that need bigger pots. That currently would require me getting more pots and more planting soil, which even if I order them online, those are not essential things. So I'm is that something that I even want to be spending money on right now?
Right.
Or can these plants just hang tight a little longer?
Yeah.
And I can figure out something in between and get creative. Maybe it's, I'm not getting new pots, but maybe as we go through our groceries, there's a larger can of something we use up, and that can work in the short term.
Yeah.
And recycling the dirt from other pots. I think it's a good time to get creative. And I think it's okay if you can't get stuff done. For me, if I'm not able to get enough potting soil, I know this is a lame example, but I think this is a very practical example. If I'm not able to get enough potting soil to replant all my pots, that's okay. It doesn't mean I failed. It doesn't mean that I didn't actually want to do this. It just means I'm doing the best that I can in the current situation.
Yeah. I also think be gentle with yourself, but also don't judge other people. I mean, that's just in general, don't judge other people.
Yeah.
You have no idea what someone's going through. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get into things, but there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
And I agree with you. If you're not able to do the things that you wanted to do, it's not really a huge deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I definitely think there's a time to push ourselves. And I think that this can be one of those times. And to me, it seems like current culture, at least in the US and in the circles that I'm aware of, is don't hold yourself accountable for anything. Don't feel bad about not doing anything. Don't blah, 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 blah. And it's all just feel happy, even if you're a massive disappointment to yourself and you don't accomplish any things you say you're going to accomplish. And I feel it's a weird double-edged sword, because on the one hand, it's if you feel terrible about not accomplishing the things that you didn't accomplish, then you're probably never going to accomplish them, because you're putting yourself into this state of mind of being upset and being frustrated, and that's not productive. It's not helpful. It's not going to move you forward. At the same time, personally, I do think it's important. And again, this is for me personally. So this is not a prescription for anyone else. I'm not trying to say other people need to do this. But for me, I do think it's important to hold myself accountable to the things that I said I was going to do, or at least acknowledge and think about why I'm not doing them. I also think there are a lot of things that we can do that are small steps, kind of like you're saying, celebrating little wins. There are little things that we can all do to help us in the long run. Like, now might be a good time to open a couple new savings accounts or read a finance book. My favorite is, and let me just say, I know this is a very like clickbaity title. It's a very like it's got like the title has certain implications. Yeah. But the dude Ramit Sethi, who started this blog and then later started writing books on this topic, he I think he kind of named it when he was like in college, and it was sort of like. Anyway,
I think, doesn't he talk about the name in the book?
Yeah, he knows.
How he's like,
he knows.
I don't want to say
ridiculous,
embarrassed, but
yeah, it's very like scammy sounding.
Yeah,
which is unfortunate because the stuff he shares is actually incredibly practical and
so
not at all get rich quick. If anything, it's maybe get rich slowly.
Yeah.
Anyway, the book is called "I Will Teach You to Be Rich." He put out a new edition like last year, and even though we are not totally out of debt, that book helped us a lot.
So much. It helps with such practical things too, like getting fees waived and stuff like.
Yeah, we've gotten hundreds of dollars in fees waived since reading that book. It's also helped us set up like online banking accounts and online savings accounts. And just, I mean, for me at least, having a savings account that's not connected to the checking account that I use all the time helps me just, it's not even in my brain.
Yeah.
I don't even think about it. It's just there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it might be a good time to start getting that stuff set up, kind of these small little things that you can do without having to leave the house.
Yeah, or start working towards it. Yeah. And I think what I like about his books too, and his website, is he gives you scripts. Because for people like me, I feel very weird calling about different fees. Like, I don't know what to say. I have a hard time being direct. And so he gives scripts that you literally just read. And it's really, I mean, I literally just read them. Some people make them their own, do whatever works for you. But it's really, really helpful because, like, I remember the first time I called to get a fee waived, I was nervous.
Yeah.
Like, I was like,
it was an overdraft fee, right?
Yeah, it was an overdraft fee that was because, what was it? It was like something that was supposed to clear. The bank said it would clear in like 2 days and it cleared in like 3. Like, it was one of those little clerical things where it should have been fine, but it wasn't. And I was nervous because I was like, you know, the bank does say they can't guarantee the 2 days. So like, technically this is my fault. And so I was really nervous. But the thing is that the worst that happens is they say no.
Yeah.
And Ramit even gives advice for that, which is to call back, which I did, because at first they said no. And I called back the next day, talked to someone else, and they were like, oh, yeah, I get how that's frustrating. And yeah, you have had this account for 6 years and you've never had an overdraft fee. So yeah, we'll take care of that for you and refund this fee. And it's like, it feels really exciting. Like, it's something so small, but it feels super exciting. And I'm, especially for someone like me who is not a very direct, assertive person, I was like, it helped my confidence.
Yeah.
And so I think
that's
awesome. That's what's also great about it, is it's just small things that makes you feel empowered. Yeah, I think that too. And if you, another site that I like for that is actually NerdWallet. Like, I don't have a lot of credit cards. I have 2. They both have 0 balance. But but I have not had great credit in the past.
We're working on it though. It's getting better.
It's in the good level now. Like I aggressively rebuilt my credit, and I did a lot of that through reading blogs and figuring out like, okay, how do you do this? What's the best thing to do? And now that I'm at a place where it is recovered and I can keep aggressively rebuilding it if I choose to, which, I think is smart. I'm trying to figure out what makes sense now, because when my credit was not good, there were fewer options. So my options made more sense, if that makes sense to you. Like there were fewer paths to take.
Yeah, it's like when you go to a restaurant that has 3 vegan dishes, the decision isn't as hard as when you go to a restaurant and the entire menu is vegan and it all looks good and you're like, I don't know what to do now.
Yeah. And so NerdWallet is really helpful too, because it walks through different bank accounts, it walks through different credit cards, it walks through all these different things, and you can take they're essentially quizzes, but it asks you about your financial state and your planning and what you want from things, and then it recommends things to you. Mm-hmm. And so even if you're not applying for them now, it's still helpful to look at, because a lot of, things that you can do to better your credit there'll be suggested recommendations of it'll give you this list of this credit card, which is only this is a harder one to get, and here's why, and here's what they want to see from you. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's kind of okay, then that's a goal I should shoot towards, not because I want that credit card to use it, but because if I'm able to get that credit card, it means these other things about me, which look good on paper, which look good if we want to buy a car, buy a house, all these other little things. Yeah. So, Ramit's book is really good, really helpful. It touches on everything. He's also not one of those people. I appreciate his stance of, if you really love your latte, get your latte. Yeah. Which in the case right now, if you really love your lattes, buy an espresso machine. There's nothing wrong with spending money on things that you genuinely love and that genuinely bring value to your life. But reevaluate where you're spending money on things that don't bring you value and that you don't love.
Yeah, Ramit's a really funny guy too.
Yeah,
he's got a great sense of humor.
He is. He's also, I love following him on Instagram because he's very sassy in some of his replies, and he posts screen caps, and I enjoy them. Yeah, because his communication style is very
unwarranted sass. It's he just doesn't suffer fools.
Yes, and his communication style is just
not
very
fools,
direct.
Rude people.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's a good tip to read that right now.
Or don't.
Yeah, whatever works for you. Maybe you want to read self-help books or whatever, or fiction books. Do it or don't. It's fine. Either way is fine. And I think that's kind of the point of this conversation today, is to figure out, I don't know, small wins are important, and it's okay to just take them for what they are. One of my things today is to wash my hair. And I know that sounds so insignificant and stupid to so many people. But for me, especially too, if you're listening to this and you also have long hair, it is not an easy task, and it is annoying, and it takes a long time to dry and all this other stuff. So I've been putting it off. And I think too, sometimes if your checklist for the day is just little things like that, that's totally fine. If that's what helps you feel motivated, if that's what gets you going, and that means you're making other more positive decisions, then that's fine. It doesn't have to be this long thing of I'm going to deep clean the house floor to ceiling in every room, and then I'll be accomplished. No, it's maybe you wash your hair and you do a face mask and you fix your broken nail, which is some of my things for today. And then you call it good. And if you can get other stuff done, great. And if you can't, that's okay too.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of your small things though? What's one seemingly small thing that you want to do today that would feel really good to get done?
Exercising.
Yeah, like yoga or something?
Yeah, just something. I don't know. Just you might go on a bike ride. It's pretty rare. I mean, especially just because it's been colder.
Yeah.
But last year, it was pretty rare that I would go on a bike ride for fun. So I might go ride 15 miles, but it was to pull my trailer to go pick up packages from the UPS store.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, man, maybe I should just go for a bike ride for fun.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. It's supposed to be warm today.
Yeah. I just feel like if I do that, I'm going to be like, why didn't I go pick up packages while I'm out and about?
Well, you can go do that tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true. I can.
I think too. Sorry, go ahead. Well, I was going to say, I think we both, because we work for ourselves and we work from home, we've created this thing where a lot of things that bring us joy need to somehow be involved with work. And I think it's okay if they're not all the time.
Yeah.
Like for you, go ride your bike and it doesn't have to involve picking up packages. That's okay.
Yeah. I also think, though, that there's nothing wrong with it having to do with work.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Like when I think about going out and riding my bike, quote unquote, just for fun, it sounds good, but I feel like if I go do it, then it won't be fun because I'm like, oh, now I have this other stuff I need to do tomorrow. Like, why didn't I just do it today? I don't know. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
I feel like it's really easy to judge someone else's thing that they're doing, whether they're doing it for fun or for work, and be like, oh, well, you shouldn't do that for this reason. You should do it for this reason. And it's like, okay. Like we've had a lot of friends who have been like, oh, you need more work-life balance. And I'm like, maybe if I hated my life, like maybe if I hated my job, but also balance is relative. Like I always feel like people are like, oh, you need to spend this much time at work and then you need to spend this much time at home and with family and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense if everything weighs the same. Yeah. But like 3 boxes full of bricks does not weigh the same as 3 boxes full of pillows. So if one is heavier than the other, then the balance doesn't have to be a 1-to-1 ratio. And I think that people get caught up in that a lot, of being like, oh, you do all this for work, you need to balance more. And I'm like, wait, so you're telling me that because shooting and editing this video is work, I should not do it, even though I love it and I'm having a super fun time doing it? Like, that just doesn't make any sense. But I feel like people do that a lot, of like the judgment of, oh, you shouldn't do that because it's work. Yeah. Like, you need to take time off of work. It's like, no, maybe you need to take time off of work. I love what I do and I want to do this right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, when you work for yourself, things are definitely a little different, especially with what we do. Because for me, it's like I can choose to do a face mask, for example, because I just want to, or it's because I'm like making notes about it and because I'm going to do a review.
Yeah. And the other thing is, work-life balance is a privilege.
It totally is.
And I don't think you and I are in... I mean, first of all, we do a lot of stuff that's not work.
Yeah. We hang out a lot.
Yeah, so it's not like we work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah. Still, though, it's like being able to say, oh, I'm just going to not work today is a massive privilege. Yeah. And even if you don't want to consider it a privilege, it's still a choice. Yeah. And just because somebody else would make that choice doesn't mean that we have to make that choice.
Yeah, I agree.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, going back to the whole...
I'm not laughing at you, sorry. Bagheera sat up and looked at you and then laid back down and went back to sleep.
Cutie. Trying to be gentle with yourself and compassionate with yourself, I think, is knowing who you are and accepting that. And then just letting yourself be who you are without comparison to other people. Yeah. Like, maybe somebody out there is like, you know what? Starting 3 side hustles and a new exercise routine is really, really what I want to do, and it's going to make me feel good. And somebody else is like, you know what? My grandparent just passed away and I can't be with them and I can't go see my family because they're in a different state on lockdown or something. And so I'm just going to sit here and binge watch Netflix. Yeah. Or maybe the heavy stuff hasn't happened and you just want to sit and watch Netflix. Like, you do you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, nobody, like, who cares what other people think about how you live your life? If you're happy.
Yeah.
Now, like, if you're not happy, I guess that's another story. Mm-hmm. But if you're happy not being happy, then whatever.
Yeah. Well, and I think right now too, it's like everyone handles stress differently. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that is not being acknowledged well enough. Like sometimes when I'm stressed, I can get so much done and be really productive. Yeah. Other times I just completely shut down.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case for a lot of people. And then if I'm in the mode where I feel like I need to shut down, mm-hmm. and I'm seeing all this stuff being like, be productive, do all these things, it makes me shut down even more. And I think that...
Why do you suppose that is?
Because it makes me feel bad. Because then I'm like, man, I'm already shut down. I'm not feeling good. And now I'm feeling this external judgment that I should be doing these things. And now I'm judging myself more for not doing them. And now I'm just shutting down further and feeling like more not great about it. Mm-hmm. But I think too, yeah, it's like everyone handles stress differently. And right now, even if you're healthy, your family's healthy, like everyone is stressed out right now just because of the general situation. And so I think we really need to just be okay with that affects everyone differently. And what your productive day looks like is going to be different than someone else's productive day. And each day is going to be different too. Mm-hmm. Like your productivity on one day is going to be different than your productivity on another. And that's okay. I think too, if you want to read books that will help you be more gentle with yourself and deal with that struggle, Marianne Williamson, her books are really good for that. She, it is the same Marianne Williamson that was running, had the presidential campaign, and a lot of people made fun of her. And she's definitely a little like wacky and out there, but I love her books. And she comes from the same standpoint of Gabby Bernstein, where, okay, a lot of people think she's really religious, and she's not. She talks about referring to like a higher power. She's talking about this in interviews. In her books, she uses the word God, not because she necessarily is like, that's God, but that's the most commonly used word that she felt people could identify with. Mm-hmm. And so she was saying how in her books, to her, it's just like a higher energy. Mm-hmm. It's not this end all be all being, but that most people believe, like most people resonated better with using the word God. And so a lot of self-help authors use the word God when they don't necessarily mean the Christian type of God. Right. And so I think a lot of times her books, and same with Gabby Bernstein's, get taken in a different way than they should be. Mm-hmm. So that's just a preface. Like, so that's something I want to put out there, where if you do pick up one of her books, and you're like, oh my gosh, this word is all over. Because I felt that way at first too, because I did not grow up at all religious.
If anything, you grew up anti-religious.
Agnostic, I would say. I think agnostic.
You weren't allowed to listen to Jars of Clay.
Yeah, because they're preaching this like packaged version of what this higher thing should be. And like, it's a very...
Which is called religion.
Yeah, but they're marketing for anyway. Yes, I get your point. Yes. I grew up in that, my belief is that everything is energy, and energy is all connected, and literally from the scientific standpoint, that is what makes sense. And certain things have more energy than others. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're this all-seeing eye, powerful thing. Anyway, when I first started reading Marianne Williamson, I struggled with her use of the word God. And so I went digging, because I was like, man, is this like... Am I going to get halfway through this book and she's trying to convert me?
This is a secret Christian propaganda that you've been fearing.
Exactly. And I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm like thinking about Gabby Bernstein differently, because she loves Marianne Williamson, and like, I need to figure this out for myself and figure out where this is coming from. So I did all this digging, and that's when I found that out. And they're both from that standpoint of, they're like, I don't actually mean like the Christian God or whatever. Like, I'm just using it as a word because people can understand it better. Sure. And then I was like, oh, so you could read it and replace everything where they say God with Joe, or energy or whatever word you want to use, which is what I do when I read it.
Spirit.
Yeah, spirit.
Crystals.
Yeah, I replace the word in my head as I'm reading it. But the message, anyway, going back to my main point, is a lot of her books are really, really helpful when it comes to not judging yourself, being more gentle with yourself, being more gentle with others, because when you're judging others, it's only hurting you, basically. And I really like her approach because she is very loving and very gentle about things. And I think right now that could be helpful for people.
Maybe one thing we should do together, and it could be a weekly episode, is maybe we should start a book club.
I like that.
That's the two of us.
Yeah.
And we could each read a set amount, and then an episode can be talking about whatever we resonated with.
Would we be reading the same book or different books?
I think generally in book clubs,
it's the same.
That's usually how they do it.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to ask to clarify because I feel like we'd have to pick in advance and let people know. And so I just wanted to make sure.
Oh,
You just meant us.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought that the audience would care that much.
Okay. Well, if you do care, comment and let us know.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious.
Yeah. So maybe we'll pick out a book.
Yeah.
Today, and we'll announce it in the intro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I like that.
Good.
I think that's a good idea.
I think you're a good idea.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My mom thinks so too. Which I talked to my mom yesterday about being on the podcast in the future.
Right. What'd she say?
She's hesitant. She was like, I don't know what I would talk about. And I was like, we can talk about your garden, like whatever you want. Mm-hmm. My mom is like right now in the middle of planting her big garden space. I think her garden's like 1/4 of an acre or something.
Really?
Yeah, it's big.
That's huge.
Yeah. Maybe it's a little less. But she's like aggressively been planting it right now. And so I was like, let's talk about that. Like she loves gardening. She loves plants. I think it would be helpful for people to hear like what are their options for planting right now.
Yeah.
Things, what they can do with it. Because she's planting with the intent of this is stuff to either eat fresh or to like can or preserve or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, she said let her think about it for a couple days.
Okay.
I think she feels pressure by people would be listening and watching. And my mom's kind of shy.
Yeah.
So
that's weird. I don't think of your mom as a shy person.
I think my mom, she's like me where if you know her, she's not shy. But if you're in a room of 30 people, she's not going to be up at the front of the room being like, hey, everyone. You know what I mean?
It's me.
It's me, Jennifer. Like, that's not my mom. That's not me. I could see that from you. That'd be your dad, I think. But yeah, my mom, she's like me where if she knows you and she's comfortable around you, she's not shy. And it's not that she's standoffish necessarily, but she's not like super outgoing.
Reserved, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that's how I am.
Yeah. Right, because you're not... I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but to me, I don't know if I would use shy as a descriptor for you either, because you're not like low self, like you're not like self-conscious, like stay away from me, like I don't want to be seen.
Yeah, I was for a long time though growing up, and I worked really hard on it.
I guess what I'm wondering though is, do you still see yourself that way?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
But I know that it is better for me to not be that way. So I push myself.
For you?
For me and for other people too. So I push myself out of it because really early on, like being younger, I was incredibly shy. Like painfully shy. Like I had teachers comment how I never talked in class. And if they even made eye contact with me, I would like shrink away in my chair and turn bright red.
Whoa.
Like I did not.
You're kind of turning a little bit red right now just talking about it.
Yeah, like it's because I feel in a lot of situations that are socially normal for other people, I feel this immense amount of pressure. Even when it's people that we know. Like I get to a point with people where I feel comfortable and then it's fine and I open up.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, yeah, in social situations, that's why they can be tiring for me is I feel this immense amount of pressure, which I've gotten better at dealing with. But growing up, I had a very hard time. I didn't know how to deal with that.
Interesting.
So yeah, I was like the kid that you could sit by for years in class and you'd never hear me talk. Yeah. Which, yeah, I mean, there are people I went to high school with who are like, oh, I had classes with you for 4 years. That's what they say. I literally never heard a word come out of your mouth. Like, I did not know your name. I didn't know anything about you, but I remember you because I saw you, but no clue. Yeah.
Very fascinating.
Very stealthy. Those are my hobbit-like behaviors.
Definitely the word I would use to describe you.
Yep.
Stealthy.
Stealthy, graceful, loud. All those things.
Stealthy, graceful, loud.
Yep. It all fits.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the book thing is a good idea. So yeah, let's pick out one today and then tomorrow we can announce it.
Okay. Well, I was thinking we'd pick it out at the end of this and then we can announce it in the intro.
Like after we record, we'll go pick it out?
Yep.
Okay.
So by now, people listening will be like, yeah, we already know the book.
Stop talking about it.
Please move on.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood our process.
Okay. That's what we're going to do.
So I have a question for you.
Yep.
What's going on with that kombucha over there? And
like the way you worded that sounds like
what's it doing?
What's going on with that over there?
It's all over the place.
I would love to give you an in-depth and entertaining answer, although I'm not. It's fermenting. I mean,
but like the mother's growing and stuff.
The mother's growing, yes.
Okay.
So that container I've had since we lived in Sonoma.
Yeah. So you've had it for like 2 years?
Something like that. Although I don't think I was using it for kombucha until we moved into Napa.
Okay.
I think we were using it for water previously.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've quote unquote cleaned it, but the most cleaning that I've done in that time is to just completely dump it out and rinse it with water. I've not. At least not that I can recall since I started using it for kombucha. I don't think I've put soap in it at all. Which means that the inside of it basically constantly has liquid in it. And or once the liquid is drained, if I haven't refilled it all the way, it's got all this like crusty, dry kombucha stuff.
Yeah.
So
which would be like when you get a bottle of kombucha at the store, it's like the boogery stuff in it, right? But that's yeah. Okay.
Residue from the mother, sitting around the edge of the edge of the container, and then kind of like just I mean, it's a living fermenting thing, so it's going to leave a lot behind. Yeah. And not necessarily look pretty. Anyway, so what I've been doing though is when I do empty it out all the way and rinse it out, and then I start a new batch of kombucha, I actually don't put any kombucha in it. So normally, if you were starting from scratch, you would put in your sweet tea, and then you would put in a little bit of, you might buy an entire 16-ounce store-bought kombucha and dump the whole thing in. You might put a mother that you already have, or scoop some out from a store-bought kombucha, or whatever. You would do something. Yeah. You would add something store-bought or previously kombuched into your sweet tea to kickstart it. But because there's so much kombucha residue on the inside of this container, even once it's rinsed out, all I had to do was add the sweet tea and then wait. Yeah. So when Tashina's asking if the mother's growing, it's because when you do it that way, it tends to take quite a bit of time for the mother to start going. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's going pretty well now. I mean, it hasn't even been that long, maybe a week.
Yeah. And I feel like once it kind of gets going, it goes quick. Like once it has like the thin layer on the top of the kombucha mother, it's just, it starts going a lot faster in growth. Like once it connects, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So the fermentation of the liquid inside that turns the sweet tea into kombucha is started or happens rather when that liquid is cut off from oxygen. So when that layer really makes its way across the whole thing and forms like a sturdy layer, then it starts to happen pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I also find that the width of your container versus the depth has a massive impact on how fast it ferments, because if you have something that, for example, is really deep but not very wide,
like one of the big mason jars,
like a big mason jar, then in my experience, your kombucha takes longer to ferment and the mother grows a bit slower.
Interesting.
As where if you had the same amount of liquid but it was in something that was shorter and wider, you're giving your mother a larger surface area. So once it starts to take off, it really grows fast and everything ferments a lot quicker.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So follow-up question to that, because I was thinking about how Sharon just got a kombucha mother.
Sharon did?
Yeah. Wasn't that Sharon? I'm pretty sure that was Sharon.
I don't know.
Sorry if I'm misremembering. Sharon, if you're confused.
Where are you remembering it from?
I thought it was in the comments.
Oh, I might have missed that.
I'm pretty sure it was Sharon. I apologize if I'm remembering wrong.
How did I miss that? I read every comment. I don't know how I missed that.
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm making this up.
Well, I was tweeting at Chris about the kombucha mother that they just bought.
Yeah, but there was someone was saying that they were just gifted a kombucha mother and they haven't started it yet.
Oh.
And
wow, I don't know where that was.
I am fully convinced it was Sharon, but if
Sharon,
I might be completely
confirm or deny
wrong.
Your
I might be totally imagining
situation.
this. So if you're someone like that and you have a mother, what would be good containers to start it in? Because you're saying do something that's like wider. So what would be some easy options?
I'm not advocating that someone does something wider. Actually.
Okay.
Especially if you're new to it. I think that you could be, it could be hard to keep up with, especially as the weather's getting warmer.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily advocating that somebody do that. In fact, oftentimes it's more of a hassle.
It goes fast.
Yeah. I would say if you have a large family that loves kombucha, or if we were not in the current times of social distancing and rather we were in a time where you could give kombucha to friends and more extended family, then doing something on a larger scale like what I do would make sense.
Yeah.
But if you're just doing it for yourself, I would say keep the container small because you're probably not going to be drinking that much.
So like a mason jar or like one of the bigger mason jars or something.
Yeah, maybe 2 of the bigger mason jars just so that you can offset your fermentation and kind of always have a steady flow. Although honestly, I don't like making them in mason jars at all. I find it a bit obnoxious.
It's difficult to pour, I find.
Yeah, it's just a whole thing.
What would be a good...
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I guess whatever you have at home.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
Right now, I wouldn't necessarily advocate somebody going out and buying something specifically for this.
Yeah.
Although, yes, the bigger mason jars, whatever size those are, I don't remember off the top of my head. I want to say there's something close to like 2 liters or something maybe. I honestly don't know.
The ones that are like this.
Yeah, the tall ones. The big ones. Those are, I mean, they're fine.
Yeah.
I just personally don't enjoy making kombucha in those.
Yeah.
But that's also because generally when I make it, I like to have a pretty good amount made.
Yeah. I mean, you make like 2 gallons at a time, right? This is a 2-gallon container? Or am I making that up too?
I think it might be more.
Okay.
But it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's to your point. It is a lot of liquid. And then generally I'll make that and then bottle it and do a second fermentation while I have I've then refilled
Yeah.
the kombucha
Yeah.
to do a whole other first fermentation again.
Yeah. Which is fun. And I feel like when you first started, I shouldn't say when you first started, you kind of had like 2 jars going, and you would take the mother from one and start it in another while we drank.
When I
what was
first
fermented.
started was years before you and I met. And I didn't really know what I was doing or how kombucha was supposed to taste. So I was basically making and drinking vinegar, kombucha vinegar. When I started making it at a larger scale when we lived in Napa, because we had so many friends that wanted it, and I was playing with the idea of starting like how like there's like the milkman from the olden days, like basically being a kombucha man, and there's like a secret kombucha club that's only it's spread by word of mouth, and you just leave your jars outside, and I replace them with new ones.
Yeah.
Then I started using 2, and then 3, and then 4.
Yeah, you had a bunch there. I think at one point you had 10.
Yeah. Well, at that point I was like, I've been making kombucha for a long time, but like I said, I haven't really been good at it. I think maybe the last 3 or 4 years is when I've really started to understand what makes it do what. And, like now I understand if I want a very effervescent strawberry kombucha, I know exactly how to do that.
Yeah.
As where before it was a lot of guessing and experimenting and using different teas and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And,
But you can start it with just like black or green tea, sugar, water, if you have a mother or a bottle of kombucha.
Well, typically you always want your base tea to be black and green tea.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that I don't really understand about it. Like, I don't really know why that is.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
I don't think it's just a flavor thing. And I know that you can do it with one or the other. So I don't know that it necessarily matters.
Okay.
But it has to be an actual tea. It can't be a quote-unquote herbal tea.
Yeah, or a
which
rooibos
is not
tea.
an actual tea. Yeah, it has to have it needs to be either black or green. I use organic because whenever it comes to like fermented stuff, I just feel like organic is like, why not? It's generally not that much more expensive, especially when you're talking about getting a big box of tea bags.
Yeah. And organic ones, like we do the Whole Foods brand, but like Newman's Own has big boxes of organic tea you can get.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty easy to find online.
Yeah. And when you consider like what you pay for a bottle of kombucha at the store, it's like one bottle of kombucha, the same amount will get you gallons and gallons of tea.
Yeah.
And then like Tashina said, you really only need sugar.
Yeah. It's easy. It's pretty simple.
And a starter. Yeah.
Yeah. If you have the starter, it's simple.
We have a friend who I was teaching them how to make it, but they were supposed to, I don't remember if I had given them a starter or if I was going to give it to them and I was waiting to hear back from them. But then so much time had passed.
You gave them a starter. I remember.
Then
anyway,
they didn't
continue.
put it in.
Yeah, they forgot.
They didn't add it to their tea, but so much time had passed that they had both forgotten, or we had both forgotten. And then I checked in with them, and they're like, "Yeah, something's growing on the top, but I don't know. It doesn't look right." And I looked in, and I was like, "That's mold. That's just a thick, disgusting layer of mold. Like, what happened here?" And then we found out, oh, they never put the mother in.
Yeah.
So they just had a jar of sweet tea just sitting in
On
their
their counter.
in their cupboard for like 2 months.
Yeah. I remember them saying that their partner thought it was the mother and was like, "It's doing great. It's growing so fast."
Look at that. Wowie zowie.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's actually, in my experience, hard to make kombucha mold. And the reason is because there's something, I don't remember all the cool words for it. But yeah, basically the like acidity, I think, of kombucha, or maybe it's just actually the bacteria itself is sort of like the antithesis of mold causing bacteria. Like, again, I don't remember all the fun terminology, but
yeah,
basically it's like you would have to really try to make kombucha mold.
Yeah, I think one of our friends looked into it and was saying it's like it basically creates an environment that's really hostile
That
for
friend
mold.
was me.
Was it? It was
Yeah.
you? Okay, yeah. I couldn't remember because I remember you and Lena talking about it, and so
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if she had read it or not. But
No, it was me saying it to her. But yeah.
Okay, yeah. It basically, it can't. It's very difficult.
Yeah. Like you just said, kombucha creates an environment that mold is like, no, I don't want to live here.
Though I will say when the mother is first kind of forming, it kind of looks like mold a little bit. So I think it's really easy when you first start to think it's mold. And
Yeah,
so
it's
if you're
not
starting it, it looks weird. Just let it go and see what happens.
Yeah. Maybe don't taste it until you're sure.
Yeah, don't taste it till you're sure. And then see what happens. See what forms.
Yeah, basically it starts, like Tashina said, is like you kind of see like spots on top of the liquid. Mm-hmm. And then the spots sort of start to extend a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then you have this like really weak film on top. And then that film is what will eventually grow into be your mother.
Yeah. And your mother kind of looks like a mushroomy pancake. I would say. Like it has little layers to it, like how pancakes kind of do. Or like a stack of pancakes, I would say. But it also kind of looks mushroomy.
Yeah.
So like you'll know, it doesn't look like mold by any means.
No. If it looks like mold, you did something really wrong.
Yeah.
Also, going back to containers, obviously use food safe containers.
Yeah.
I use a plastic container, but it's a BPA free plastic, and I'm not super concerned about whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe eventually I'll get rid of it, but
Yeah, I think eventually it'd be cool to have a glass one with the spigot.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing is it has the little pouring thing
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
And that is super helpful. That's why you picked it.
Yeah. Well.
One of the reasons.
Yep. But yeah, I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
Makes a ton of kombucha.
Yeah. Which is nice to have. Now I really want kombucha.
There's some right there.
I know. I'm
You
going to
could
drink some
literally
after.
just, here, I'll just do this. And now you can use your glass for some kombucha. It's not super bubbly right now, but it's still kind of sweet. It's pretty delicious. It's like so early in the fermentation phase. Taste it. It's me, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm smelling it right now.
All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to rush you. May I?
It has like a very soft effervescence to it.
Yeah. Very sweet still.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I forgot. I added more tea to top it off yesterday. That's why it's so sweet. I was like, that's weird. It seems less fermented than it did 2 days ago. That's why. Because I added in a bunch of sweet tea.
But still, the fact that you added more tea yesterday and it's still a little effervescent,
Well,
that says something.
I maybe added like 3 cups to the giant mass of liquid. So, yeah. But in a couple days, maybe 3 or 4 days, I will bottle it and do a second fermentation with some of it. And some of it I won't even do a second fermentation. I'll just feed it a little more sugar and bottle it.
Yeah.
And let the I was going to say condensation. Let the carbonation build up.
Yeah. The second fermentations are good. I still remember when you made 1 second fermentation batch. I think it was a second fermentation where you used Earl Grey tea. That was so good. We don't have any Earl Grey though, I don't think.
Sorry.
Sad.
Well, if you find some.
Yeah, maybe I'll get some on iHerb or something. Order some fun teas to try.
Fun teas.
Fun teas.
Fun teas. Would you like some fun teas? Not fun teas, fun teas.
Well, thank you for the kombucha lesson.
You're welcome.
I wanted to ask questions because I swear someone commented recently about having a new mother. And so I was like, oh, this is perfect. Because their comment implied that they weren't really sure what to do.
Oh.
Or how to start, really. So that's why I wanted to ask you.
Well, if that person is listening and that is true, feel free to DM me or tweet at me with your questions, and I will probably not answer them in text, but I would be more than happy to make a little video
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. But honestly, I mean, I feel like we were pretty thorough.
I think so too.
If you're making kombucha, it's simple.
Yeah.
I can help.
Yeah. It's a lot. I think fermented foods are a lot easier than people realize.
Yeah. I would say, though, the thing I haven't quite mastered is sourdough bread. I can make the sourdough starter, but the bread part, the part that actually matters for eating, I have not mastered.
I'm pretty sure that Gemma, OMG Gemma, GEMMA on Instagram, she is in the UK. She's a vegan, like, food content creator. And she, I'm pretty sure, is currently working on an ebook all about sourdoughs and
I want to figure
pasta
it out on my
and
own.
stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That might be fine once I've got it, but I don't know. I have this weird thing about if I'm learning something, not always, but sometimes when it's like a special little project, I don't want to learn it from like someone I kind of know,
Yeah.
especially if they're doing it in like a broad, like I know it's weird, but like I don't want to just be another person who buys an ebook and learns how to do it.
Yeah.
I know that doesn't make any sense. I'm not even really sure how to put it into words because it doesn't make sense to me either. But there's just something in the process of finding an old book at a thrift store that has a sourdough recipe, or following some weird obscure dude on Instagram that, like, you know, like we talked about before, like harvests wild yeast from a field in his backyard. Like, there's just, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I was going to suggest her to people who might be listening
No,
if
they
they're
don't.
interested.
No,
she
they can't.
posted
No.
a recipe the other day I really want to make where she made her homemade pasta and used aquafaba in place of egg, because a lot of pastas call for egg.
Yeah.
So I really want to try that because it looked really good. But her food content is really good. Her dog, Maddie, is adorable. Maddie likes to stand on two legs. They don't know why. Maddie was a rescue. She's just always done it. So they have all these really cute photos of them out and about, and Maddie's just standing on two legs. And sometimes she's wearing a little jacket.
That's so funny.
And it legit, like, if it's set up right, it looks like it is a kid, like a little kid in the photos. And it's not, it's their dog. It's so cute.
I love that so much.
Yeah, she's really sweet though, and she is a great person to follow for food content.
All right. OMG Gemma.
Yeah.
OM Gemma? Or is it OMG Gemma?
My phone is not here, so now I can't check.
I kind of feel like it's OM Gemma.
Maybe. Also, Just Beautician is a great person for food content also. She is, I think she's in Scotland now. I can't remember.
OMG Gemma.
Yeah. Yeah. But those are two great people I would suggest for food content. Just Beautician does a lot of what I eat in a day videos where she literally shows her making the food. And so I
Nice.
think that could be really helpful motivation. And a lot of times with both of them too, they do tons of food content and it's very simple, relatable, easy dishes.
Yeah.
And I think that's good to have right now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well,
Simple, relatable, important.
yes. On that note, should we wrap things up? What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it. Wrap it up. Ship it out. Pack it up, pack it in.
Let me begin.
No, we're
No,
ending.
let me end. Let me end.
We love you, dear listeners and viewers, with all of our hearts and our minds
And kombucha mothers.
and all of our kombucha mothers. Thanks for listening.